Jaya Govardhana Vallabha Gopijana Vallabha Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanashari Yamunatira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Vijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnuhat, Paramahamsa Parvakacharya, Stadra Sadashi Shrimad, His Divine Grace, Ace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Gauri Vaishnava Ki. ISKCON founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, Ace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Go Premanandi. All glories to simple devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to simple devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the simple devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda Jai Jai Shri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. So today we're reading from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 2, entitled The Ecstatic Manifestations of Lord Caitanya. We're reading 64 through to 66. Mata Gaja Bhava Gana Prabhura Deha Ikshuvana Gaja Yudeva Nera Dalana Prabhura Ha'ila Divyon Mada Tano Manera avasada. Bhavaveshe kare sambodhana. Mattagaja bhavagana prabhura deha ikshuvana. Gajayudheva niradalana. Does anyone know the meter for this? Prabhura ha'ila divyomada tanu manira avasada. Bhavaveshe kare sambodhana. Ladies? Mattagaja, mad elephant. Bhavagana, symptoms of ecstasy. Prabhura, of the Lord. Deha, body. Ikshuvana, sugarcane forest. Gajayudhe, in the fight of the elephants. Vanera, of the forest. Dalana, trampling. Prabhura, of the Lord. Ha'ila, was. Divya Unmada, transcendental madness. Tanumanera, of the mind and body. Avasada, despondency. Bhava aveshe, on account of absorption in ecstasy. Kare, does. Sambodhana, addressing. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The body of the Lord was just like a field of sugarcane into which the mad elephants of ecstasy entered. There was a fight amongst the elephants, and in the process the entire field of sugarcane was destroyed. Thus transcendental madness was awakened in the body of the Lord, and he experienced despondency in mind and body. In this ecstatic condition he began to speak as follows. Translation, please repeat. The body of the Lord was just like a field of sugarcane into which the mad elephants of ecstasy entered. There was a fight amongst the elephants, and in the process the entire field of sugarcane was destroyed. Thus transcendental madness was awakened in the body of the Lord, and he experienced despondency in mind and body. In this ecstatic condition, He began to speak as follows. Text 65. He Deva, He Dayata, He Bhuvanaika Bandho, He Krishna, He Chapala, He Karunaika Sindho, He Natta, He Ramana, He Nayana Abhiram, Haha Kadunu Bhavitasi Padam Drisho Me. Translation. O my Lord, O dearest one, O only friend of the universe, O Krishna, O restless one, O ocean of mercy, O my Lord, O my enjoyer, O beloved to my eyes, alas, when will you again be visible to me? Purport. This is the text 40 of Krishna Caritamrita. Text 66. Om Madhya Lakshana Karaya Krishna Spurana Bhavaveshe Utti Pranayamana Soluntha Vachana Riti Managava Vyajastuti Kabu Ninda Kabu Va Samana. Translation. The symptoms of madness served as an impetus for remembering Krishna. The mood of ecstasy awoke love, disdain, defamation by words, pride, honor, and indirect prayer. Thus Sri Krishna was sometimes blasphemed and sometimes honored. Purport. The word Unmada is explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as extreme joy, misfortune, and bewilderment in the heart due to separation. Symptoms of Unmada are laughing like a madman, dancing, singing, performing ineffectual activities, talking nonsense, running, shouting, and sometimes working in contradictory ways. The word pranaya is explained thus: when there is a possibility to receive direct honor, but it is avoided, that love is called pranaya. Srila Rupa Goswami in his Ujjvala Nilamani explains the word mana thus: when the lover feels novel sweetness by exchanging hearty loving words, but wishing to hide his feelings by crooked means, mana is experienced. So I'll just read the three translations again. The body of the Lord was just like a field of sugarcane into which the mad elephants of ecstasy entered. There was a fight amongst the elephants, and in the process the entire field of sugarcane was destroyed. Thus transcendental madness was awakened in the body of the Lord, and he experienced despondency in mind and body. In this ecstatic condition, he began to speak as follows. O my Lord, O dearest one, O only friend of the universe, O Krishna, O restless one, O ocean of mercy, O my Lord, O my enjoyer, O beloved to my eyes, alas, when will you again be visible to me? The symptoms of madness served as an impetus for remembering Krishna. The mood of ecstasy awoke love, disdain, defamation by words, pride, honor, and indirect prayer. Thus Sri Krishna was sometimes blasphemed and sometimes honored. Om Agana Tamandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshumalatam Jena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Caitanya Caritamrita Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So these pastimes are very esoteric, and Srila Prabhupada describes that normally most of these very esoteric later pastimes in Lord Chaitanya's last 12 years are described in the Ancha-lila. But somehow Krishna Das Kaviraj has put this chapter of ecstatic manifestations of Lord Chaitanya within the Madhya-lila instead of the Ancha-lila. And Srila Prabhupada says that no, an ordinary person cannot understand why he has done this. But all these pastimes of the Lord in whatever mood he's in, whether he's in his mood of internal absorption in exhibiting his love for Radharani. Lord Chaitanya came for his internal reasons to exhibit the love that Radharani has for Krishna, because Lord Chaitanya is a combination of Radha and Krishna. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. That Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than a combination of Radharani and Krishna. So he came for his internal reasons, and he also came for his external reasons of spreading the Sankirtan movement. So there's so many pastimes earlier on in the Madhya Lila and the Adi Lila of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan pastimes, spreading the Sankirtan movement. And here we see these pastimes are more internal. And Prabhupada describes in the first few verses of the chapter that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's state of mind is practically non-different from Radharani in the mood of separation from Krishna. So just as Radharani, when she was separated from Krishna, then she practically went transcendently mad and looking everywhere and asking even the plants and creepers, "Have you seen my Lord anywhere?" So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the same mood of separation from Krishna and exhibiting these symptoms of transcendental madness. So I'm not feeling very qualified to elaborate on these pastimes. But Srila Prabhupada's very nicely given so many wonderful purports as well, so that even the layman in Krishna consciousness can get some transcendental realization and understanding of these amazing pastimes. Actually, ordinarily these pastimes, especially these very esoteric pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, are for the very advanced devotees. Generally, like I was saying before, mostly Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for the common people, he just spread the Sankirtan movement through loud chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and distribution of prasadam like that, and maybe a little bit of philosophy for those who are ready for it. But Srila Prabhupada's he's translated these wonderful pastimes and given us his elaborate purports, so that even a beginner in Krishna consciousness can be attracted to these pastimes and gain some realization and ecstasy from hearing these different wonderful ecstatic pastimes. So sometimes we even distributed Caitanya Caritamritas on the street. We're still doing it. And some people became devotees. That was the first book they got, was the Caitanya Caritamrita. And anyone who's a little sincere and a little submissive, when they get these books, they become very, very interested and very, very attracted. Especially if they get association of devotees and take prasadam regularly and hear the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, they get purified. Then they can gradually begin to more and more understand this philosophy and these pastimes. Srila Prabhupada said most people are very faithless, especially in Kali Yuga, but faith is especially established through the loud chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and distribution of prasadam, and then people can become more enabled to hear and understand this philosophy and these transcendental pastimes. And Srila Prabhupada quotes also that it was in a different purport I was reading. He quotes that Krishnadas Kaviraj, he's written down these wonderful pastimes of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, and Ragunatha Goswami actually assisted him. But Krishnadas Kaviraj, he's written down all these pastimes so that the reader of the Lord, these wonderful pastimes will gradually awaken his dormant love for Krishna. Srila Prabhupada stated that. So anyone who hears these transcendental pastimes, even though they may not fully understand, even though they're very esoteric, on a very, very advanced high level, if we just hear these pastimes with faith and with an open heart and with submissiveness and sincerity, then we will get greatly purified and we can make rapid advancement in Krishna consciousness. Even Srila Prabhupada would say to his disciples when he was giving lectures in Hindi and Bengali, even if you don't understand what I'm saying, what I'm preaching, you just sit and listen and you hear the philosophy in a different language. You may not understand a word, but you're getting immense benefit and purification. So Srila Prabhupada describes a few different words in the purport. Unmada. And we can see that that's where the word mad comes from. Symptoms of Unmada. Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited all these symptoms. Laughing like a madman, dancing, singing, performing ineffectual activities, talking nonsense. Of course, sometimes Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu was seemingly talking nonsense or gibberish, but we can understand that these were all ecstatic symptoms that he had in the mood of Radharani for Krishna. Running. Sometimes Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu was running. He wasn't even at Govardhana Hill or at the Yamuna, but he was seeing different sand dunes as Govardhana Hill, and he was running towards the sand dunes as if they were Govardhana Hill or some other river, taking it to be the Yamuna River. And devotees also may exhibit transcendental symptoms of transcendental madness like this. Just like when devotees are in ecstasy in Krishna consciousness, we chant and dance and laugh and sing and spin around without abandon, not caring for what other people think. And even we go in public and we chant and dance and spin around and jump up and down in ecstasy, not caring for public opinion. Srila Prabhupada says this. So these are also states of ecstasy that the devotees of the Lord are experiencing as well. Because this process of Krishna consciousness is not ordinary pleasure on a mundane platform, that the more people try to squeeze out pleasure in the material world, the more it becomes hackneyed and staled. The more they try to gratify their senses through eating or sex life or intoxication, the more they become disgusted, and it's a law of ever-diminishing returns. Whereas the happiness is simply serving Krishna, chanting, dancing, hearing this philosophy. It's ever-increasing, anandam bodhivardhanam, an ever-increasing ocean of transcendental pleasure. So we experience like that, just like we see Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is like non-stop exhibiting all these amazing symptoms. Sometimes, his limbs going within himself, and sometimes his body becomes very big and fat. We may not necessarily exhibit those symptoms, but the more we engage in Krishna consciousness, the more we feel great transcendental bliss, freedom from all anxiety, the more we feel attached to Krishna, the more we feel attached to the process of devotional service, the more we will come to our original state of full Krishna consciousness, which is lying dormant within the hearts of everyone. Nityasiddha Krishna Prema Sajjakabanaya, pure love for Krishna, is within the hearts of all living entities, as described in the Caitanya Caritamrita. Nityasiddha Krishna Prema Sajjakabanaya, Shravanadi Suti Cheti Kaladeyadaya. And that pure love for Krishna, these ecstatic symptoms that a devotee can manifest also within his heart and can be brought about simply by the process of hearing and chanting. So the common people, they will not understand these transcendental pastimes of the Lord. That's why Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, like I said before, for most people, for the common people, he just gave the Sankirtan movement of chanting and dancing like this, a little bit of philosophy for those scholars who he met. And some people may criticize, of course there's always cynics in this world, people who will criticize and say, well, how can God do that? How can God, exhibit all these symptoms of madness? Or how can he lift a great mountain on his little finger, or dance with thousands of gopis and expand himself so that he can dance at the same time with thousands of gopis? And this can't be God, because God is moral, and why is he dancing in the middle of the night with so many unmarried gopis or with the wives of other husbands? So people will, those who are materialistic will criticize in so many ways. But for the devotees, they understand that where's the limitation for Krishna? Where's the limitation for God? He can do anything he likes. Why can't he exhibit these ecstatic, transcendental symptoms of madness? Why can't he lift a hill on his little finger and hold it there for 7 days? Why can't he dance with, many, many gopis in the middle of the night? Why can't he have 16,108 wives and a palace for each? Srila Prabhupada says, why 16,108 wives? Krishna can have billions and billions of wives. And actually everyone is his wife on the spiritual platform. All living entities are female, Prakriti, and Krishna is the only Purusha, the only male. Srila Prabhupada gave that story to exemplify how people with no faith, they don't believe in the transcendental activities or pastimes of the Lord. So he gave the story of the Brahmana and the cobbler. Then anyone not heard this story? Maybe a few new devotees haven't heard, so we can relate the story. So there was a Brahmana and a cobbler, one who makes boots, considered a low-class profession, and they happened to meet Narada Muni by their good fortune, and Narada Muni said he was travelling all throughout the material and spiritual worlds preaching Krishna consciousness. And so the Brahmana said, well, when you go back to the spiritual world, can you ask my Lord when I will get liberation? And Narada Muni said, yes, I can do that for you. And then he's travelling preaching, and he meets this cobbler. And the cobbler asked the same question, can you ask my Lord when I will get liberation? So Narada Muni, after preaching in the material world, he goes to the spiritual world, and he meets with Lord Narayan. And Lord Narayan is asking, so how's your preaching going all throughout the three worlds? And Narada Muni said, yes, wonderful, many wonderful, amazing stories, wonderful people taking up Krishna consciousness. And I met these two personalities, a Brahmana and a cobbler. They're both asking when they will get liberation. And the Lord says, well, you can tell the Brahmana he won't be liberated for millions of births. Narada Muni is very astonished. What? He's a Brahmana, he follows all the rules and regulations, he studies the Shastras. How is this? Like Narada Muni is thinking like that. How is this? And he accepts it from the Lord, and then he says, well, there was a cobbler. And the Lord says, oh yes, my great devotee, he's such a wonderful devotee, he'll be liberated at the end of this life. And Narada Muni is thinking to himself, oh, that's amazing. He's in such a low-class profession. How is this? And he accepts it anyway, and he comes back to the material world, and he meets the Brahmana, and the Brahmana is very eager for the news. And that's right. And also the Brahmana and the cobbler were asking, when Narada Muni goes to the spiritual world, can you find out what the Lord was doing? So Narada Muni also, he found out what the Lord was doing. The Lord told Narada Muni that I'm busy threading an eye an elephant through an eye of a needle, back and forth. So when Narada Muni came back to see the Brahmana's asking, so what was the Lord doing? And Narada Muni said, well, he was busy putting an elephant through an eye of a needle. And the Brahmana said, what? That's ridiculous. How could anyone do that? That's impossible. And well, when will I get liberation? And Narada Muni said, well, unfortunately, the Lord said it won't be for millions of births. And the Brahmana was saying, this is ridiculous also. Like, I'm such a strict Brahmana, I'm so pure. I study all the scriptures, bathe all the holy places, perform all the austerities. This is ridiculous. And Narada Muni said, well, that's what the Lord said. It's up to you. You take it or leave it. So then he went traveling and he met the cobbler again. And the cobbler was asking, so my Lord, he's so wonderful. What was he doing? And Narada Muni said, well, he was busy putting an elephant through an eye of a needle back and forth. And the cobbler said, oh, my Lord, he's so wonderful. He can do anything he likes. And he gave an example that this big banyan tree or fig tree has thousands of fruits, and in each one of those fruits there's thousands of seeds, which have each of those seeds has the same potency to produce another huge tree. So if the Lord can invest the potency in each of those seeds to produce another huge tree, why can't he thread an elephant through an eye of a needle? And so he asked, well, when will I get liberation? And Narada Muni said, well, you're coming back at the end of this life. And the the cobbler said, oh, I don't deserve that. I'm such a low-class person. That's amazing. My Lord is so kind. So on the one hand, the cobbler, even though in a so-called low profession, he had complete faith in the supremacy and the ability and the wonderful power and qualities of the Lord. But the Brahmana, even though so-called externally very saintly and pure, he had no faith, so he was completely unqualified. And Srila Prabhupada says that this faith in the process of devotional service and faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, this is a very important quality. Without this faith, then very difficult to make advancement. And that faith is created in the association of devotees. Srila Prabhupada said, faith is the unflinching trust that simply by following this process of Krishna consciousness, of devotional service, we can achieve all perfection. So we can all testify that being in the association of devotees and chanting and dancing and taking prasadam and hearing this philosophy and performing different services, gradually we're becoming purified and we're developing faith, not blind faith, but faith with transcendental knowledge and realization in the process of devotional service, in the supreme position of Krishna, that Krishna is Bhaktaram Jagatapasham. He's the Lord of all sacrifices and austerities. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He's the Lord of all planets. He's the object of all sacrifice and austerity. He's the Lord of all planets and demigods. Bhaktaram Jagatapasham Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suridam Sarvabhutanam. He's the friend of all living entities. Yatfamam Shantam Richite. A person who understands these three things can attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. Srila Prabhupada said this is the peace formula, just to know these three things. And Krishna himself, many places, like in the Bhagavad Gita, he's stating that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Param Brahma, he's the Supreme Person. Param Dharma, he's the Supreme Abode. Pavitram Paramam Bhavam, he's the Supreme Pure. Aham Savasa Prabhavo Matasavam Pravatati Iti Matva. Help me out. Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha. Thank you. Krishna says, I am the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So the devotees have No, we fully accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he's so wonderful. Not that it's just because it's stated in the scriptures in so many places, but Krishna is so amazing. He's the most amazing personality. He's the most famous. He's the most beautiful, the wisest, the most renounced, the strongest. Bhagavan is a name for Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead possesses these 6 opulences to an unlimited degree. So we just hear these amazing pastimes of Krishna or Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. They're no ordinary pastimes that an ordinary conditioned soul would exhibit. These pastimes are totally out of this world, totally not ordinary, totally on the transcendental platform. And the proof that these pastimes are transcendental is that just by hearing these pastimes, describing these pastimes, in the association of devotees, we're becoming very enlivened and very purified. Like ordinarily, like Srila Prabhupada says, you can read a newspaper or a mundane novel and you read it once and then you throw it in the bin. You can't read it again. It becomes tasteless. But these pastimes, we can read them again and again and derive newer and fresher meanings and newer realizations, and we're eager to hear these ecstatic qualities and pastimes of the Lord again and again. Srila Prabhupada says in an ordinary city there might be like Calcutta or New York, there might be like 6 or a dozen newspapers coming out every day. But they never give people the same newspaper the second day or the third day. It's like a new newspaper. But it's all mundane news. But Srila Prabhupada would quote that his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, said, no, we can produce a newspaper from the spiritual world on the transcendental names, forms, qualities and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead every second. And that's why the Vedic knowledge is contains thousands and thousands of literatures. Srila Prabhupada has just given us the essence. Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Caitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, the most important books out of all the voluminous books of the Vedas. But even what Srila Prabhupada has given us is 80 or 100 books, full with 600 or 800 pages. So much transcendental news from the spiritual world. And we see that even the great demigods, like Lord Brahma, even they become bewildered and astonished at the pastimes of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Like Lord Brahma, he tried to trick Krishna by stealing the cowherd boys and calves. And he hid them away. And he came back in a moment of his time, which was a year in the calculation of human beings. And he saw that the calves and cowherd boys still seemed to be there. Krishna had manifested himself personally into the calves and cowherd boys. And Lord Brahma, he realized that he was actually outsmarted by Krishna. And he realized his foolishness, and he offered many nice prayers in glorification of Krishna's supremacy. So even though Lord Brahma is the greatest demigod in this universe, even he understands that above him is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his many expansions and avatars and incarnations. And without Krishna consciousness, without people surrendering their lives to Krishna, their eternal connection with Krishna or Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the most merciful, magnanimous incarnation of the Lord. He's freely giving Krishna consciousness to one and all. even Srila Prabhupada, I was listening to a lecture this morning, he was saying that even the loud chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he was saying that even the children in Krishna consciousness, they're unlimitedly benefited. And even they may not actively take part in Krishna consciousness, just a little bit of association with the holy name and the process of Krishna consciousness is enough to bring out their attraction for Krishna later on in their life. And Srila Prabhupada said even the insects, the mosquitoes and the other insects in the temple are getting immense benefit by Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan process, the loud chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So we see that without taking to Krishna consciousness, when people cut off their eternal relationship with God, with Krishna, they're never satisfied. Just like a screw, you take out a little screw from the microphone. It's very small. It may seem very unimportant, but if it's disconnected from the microphone, it's useless. Asara, it's useless. But if it's connected with the microphone, it has a great use, even though it's very small. So similarly, the living entity, he's eternally connected with the Lord. If he's fully connected with the Lord, then he becomes very useful. And even though we're very minute in the scheme of things, we can render very valuable devotional service to Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we see that living entities in this material world, especially in Kali Yuga, they're very forgetful, very much disconnected from Krishna, and consequently they're always in anxiety, always stressed, always morose, always unhappy, always addicted to so many forbidden activities, meat eating, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex. But we see the result when the living entity takes to his eternal birthright of Krishna consciousness, then he becomes automatically freed from all anxieties. He becomes happy, he becomes blissful, and he becomes gradually attached more and more to Krishna. Beginning with the process of hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam, and then gradually Vishnu Smaranam, we remember the Lord more and more. Padasevanam, you have the opportunity to worship the lotus feet of Krishna. Vandanam, offering prayers. Dasham, becoming a servant more and more of our spiritual master and Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna. Becoming a friend of the Lord. Sakyam, and ultimately Atmanivedam, coming to the platform where we can give everything to Krishna, mind, body and words, like the example Bali Maharaj. So we see, like Srila Prabhupada says, my disciples previously, when they had no understanding of Krishna consciousness, no practice of Krishna consciousness, when they hadn't received the wonderful mercy of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, then they were drug-addicted, meat-eating, sex-mongering hippies. But now they're looking like, by taking to Krishna consciousness, they're looking like they're Vaikuntha ladies and men coming from Goloka Vrindavan or Vaikuntha, always in ecstasy, smiling from ear to ear, exhibiting wonderful qualities, very purified, wearing saris and dhotis like this. So this is the transformation. This is described in one verse. Trying to remember the Sanskrit, that it's just as an alchemist can transform base metal into gold with in an alchemical process with mercury, so a bona fide spiritual master can transform even a most fallen conditioned soul into a pure-hearted, loving devotee of the Lord through the bona fide process of initiation and devotional service. So we're hearing these wonderful ecstatic symptoms and pastimes of the Lord. They may, on our mundane level, we may try and equate with our own experiences, these pastimes, and we may think, well, how does that add up? How can these different mad symptoms of madness happen to anyone? But that's because we're trying to equate the Lord's pastimes on our own level of understanding. So only by rendering pleasing, loving devotional service, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktimam abhijanati avanyashtasmi tatvata tatomam tatvato gyadva vishate tad anantaram. By rendering, only by unalloyed devotional service, Krishna says, can I be understood as I am, standing directly before you. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So we cannot, as Srila Prabhupada says, and he quoted his own spiritual master, that we cannot taste the honey in the bottle by simply licking out the outside of the bottle. We have to take the lid off and put the spoon in and put the honey in our mouth, then we can know what the taste is like. So we cannot understand the process of Krishna consciousness, what to speak of these very esoteric pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even we cannot even understand, very difficult to understand for most conditioned souls, how the soul is different from the body. The soul is different from the body and the mind and the intelligence. Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita, Aschaya paschati kaschidinam, aschaya vadadi tataiva chanya. He says some look on the soul as amazing, some describe the soul as amazing, some hear about the soul as amazing, and others, even after hearing about the soul, they cannot even understand the soul at all. So if most people cannot even understand the soul as being totally distinct and different from the body and the mind, then what hope is there of understanding the transcendental nature of Krishna's form, qualities, pastimes, and the ecstatic pastimes of the most merciful incarnation of the Lord, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? But through the purifying process of devotional service, anyone, even though previously very conditioned in this material world, very forgetful, can come to this transcendental understanding of gradually understanding these pastimes and fully understanding the process of devotional service and fully imbibing with faith with knowledge and realization, imbibing this process of devotional service into our life. But as I said before, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for the massive people, he performed his external pastimes for spreading the Sankirtan movement through the loud chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dancing in ecstasy, distributing prasadam, association of devotees. So many pastimes of the Lord, it's just full of association of devotees, taking prasadam and chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and dancing in ecstasy. So this is our business also. In the temple, we're performing these pastimes. We go out in the street and we give out the Sankirtan movement to the people en masse. Just like we're in service paradise. The devotees see it as a service paradise. Wonderful paradise to perform service to Krishna. We were there the other day, Charanara Vinda Prabhu and myself and the Harinam devotees. And so many young kids like chanting and dancing all night long. We didn't stay the whole night, but tonight we're hoping to stay a bit later. We're going up there today. Anyone who's eager to come and give out Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy to the fallen conditioned souls. Many young kids, very qualified, very eager to dance and chant with the devotees. And even there was a mad lady lying on the bench next to our table, our book distribution table. And we were doing some kirtan through the day there and distributing books and lassi, and she was like swearing at us. At one point, Charanara Vinda went over and like got on a case a bit, and then she became very remorseful and started saying, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I'd like to read one of your books." So I went over and she took a Bhagavad Gita. She gave like $10, and then I said, "Oh, you can throw in your coins as well." And she threw her coins in, and she got a small book. And then she just lay back on the bench and started swearing at us again, like completely crazy. She was saying, "Oh, I'm a Christian." Yeah, sure. Anyway, so just don't know who we're going to meet out there and who's going to take the books. And so the more we can spread Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, the more we can increase Krishna's family. This is how all of us became devotees. We met devotees on the street, we got books, prasadam, the holy name. Devotees contacted us again on the street again and again. So people out there, they're very contaminated, very faithless in even the existence of God. Rather, they're thinking themselves the center of all enjoyment, the Lord of all they survey. So the more we can give people the benefit of this Sankirtan movement, eventually people will take it up. We can't understand how this process works. Maybe difficult to understand even for as aspiring devotees. We may not understand fully the potency of the holy name and how the holy name is different from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna, and is invested with all the potencies of the Lord and his pastimes. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. That the holy name is Krishna. It's not under the modes of material nature. It's full of transcendental ecstasy and full of the pastimes and qualities of the Lord and his different incarnations. But if we have faith that the holy name, the Yuga Dharma, the holy name, and the broader, as Srila Prabhupada said, the broader chanting of the holy name in the form of these transcendental literatures, this is the broader kirtan. If we have faith that these wonderful weapons of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can have very powerful effect in the lives of the conditioned souls. And there's many stories of Vijay Prabhu. He's written a book on many different people getting books, and how some of these people were very fallen, very degraded, professional killers or thieves, rogues, big woman hunters, but even they became devotees by receiving these books or receiving prasadam. So this is the greatest thing we can do for Srila Prabhupada and all his representatives, and for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his Sankirtan movement, is to fully be immersed ourselves in the process of Krishna consciousness, and as much as possible give the Sankirtan movement widely to thousands of other people. Just like when we go to Surfers Paradise or Brisbane or Sydney, there's thousands of people on the streets in these big cities. So when we chant kirtan, thousands of people can get the benefit. The other day I was in Sydney and I was visiting my mum, and I was going to get some dinner for her, but unfortunately Govinda's was closed, so I went to a vegetarian restaurant in town. It was like one of those Asian vegetarian restaurants. And so I just caught the train down, and I was thinking, wow, thousands of people on the platforms, and I was thinking, can't pass up the opportunity to do some Harinam. So I took the cartels and going down and into the subway, there's like thousands of people waiting on the platforms, and thousands of people got the chance to hear the holy name. So as much as possible, if we have the chance, go out. And now is the Christmas Marathon. The Christmas Marathon's already started. We can say it's been inaugurated by the Harinam Ruchi, performing their Sankirtan pastimes in the Gold Coast. So anyone who has the chance to go out in Srila Prabhupada's Christmas Marathon, distributing books, Harinam Sankirtan, prasadam, please take the opportunity, go out for a day, a week, or every day for a couple of hours, and experience the nectar and giving this wonderful mercy to other fallen conditioned souls. Okay, we'll finish there. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Do we have another microphone available?
Thank you for the class, Prabhu. In the beginning you said when you hear Krishna Katha, even though you don't fully understand, like even if it's different language, you get purified. So how does it work?
Because like when Srila Prabhupada was giving those lectures, like in Hindi or Bengali, and he had so many English-speaking disciples in the audience, he's still preaching the process of Krishna consciousness. So like, the benefit is still there, even though you don't understand how it's working. Like Srila Prabhupada gave the example of a medicine. You may be sick, and you take some medicine prescribed by the doctor, even though you don't understand how the medicine's working in your body, or you don't have faith in the medicine, you'll still get benefit if you take the medicine, the bona fide medicine given by the doctor. What to speak if you have full faith in the medicine, how much more the medicine is going to act. So even if we don't understand a different language, we don't, have faith in the philosophy, still just by hearing. People, even they have no faith, if they just hear the holy name or hear this philosophy, they're still getting immense benefit. Even Srila Prabhupada says people hear one word, one line, one page of this knowledge, they're freed from more sins than they can commit in millions of lifetimes. They're eternally benefited. So when Prabhupada was preaching in different languages, we can understand that he was preaching the same philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, according to the audience, And so those who couldn't understand the language, it's still going in and having transcendental effect and purifying the heart, whatever language it is. Is that okay? Looks like you're about to put your hand up.
I was wondering, what about if we are asleep? Because I heard different things. I heard somebody say that there's no benefit if you're asleep, and then also the opposite, that there is benefit. And some people hear like Prabhupada recordings where they're sleeping, or kirtan, or Krishna
of course.
books.
If you're asleep, there's still immense benefit. Like Srila Prabhupada said, the first sense that we're conscious of is the sense of hearing. So even a sleeping man, if there's danger, like someone's coming to kill him, if we call out, "No, be careful, there's someone here coming to kill you," just by hearing those warnings through the sense of hearing, he can save himself, right? So even a sleeping man, and most people are asleep to Krishna consciousness, right? Even though they're walking like flapping dead bodies, they look like they're fully alive and doing so many activities, but spiritually they're dead. So whether they're, sleeping spiritually or whether they're physically asleep, if they hear the loud chanting of Hare Krishna or these transcendental pastimes, still the vibration is going in and having effect, purification on the heart. Just like we have, you might have your phone or you have the little Prabhupada box and you play like the lectures at night time. Like I turn Prabhupada on every night and it just keeps going through lecture after lecture all night long. And you wake up in the morning and Prabhupada's still preaching. So even though we're asleep for 6 hours, Prabhupada's like preaching that whole time, and still going in, having immense benefit. Yes, Madhya? Someone else had a question? Krishna Caitanya.
Krishna, I can just quickly add a little bit to that.
Yes.
I mentioned this in my last class last time, that in the 11th canto it explains that the Vedic sound vibration enters the region of the heart where the super soul and the soul reside, versus mundane sound vibration. And when that sound vibration enters the heart, so it's not an intellectual process after all, even though it seems like we're using our intelligence and so forth. So the language is not important, it's a transcendental sound coming from the spiritual master or a self-realized soul, or the scriptures, enters that region of the heart, which is described as a sky, where we reside. When Krishna hears it first, and then he gives the living entity a nudge. So did you hear that? And that's so Krishna also hears it, and he wakes us up. So that's how the process works. It's quite interesting. So it's teamwork.
Thank you so much. And the chanting also, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Galoka Premadana Harinama Sankirtana, it states that it's directly transported from topmost planet in the spiritual world, from Galoka Vrindavan. Rati Janme Lokanatai. But we're so unfortunate we don't have so much of a taste for the chanting and hearing. But it will develop just like the fan. You turn the fan off, it doesn't stop straight away, but gradually comes to a standstill. So by hearing this philosophy and rendering service to the devotees, gradually all that is troublesome to the heart, nasa or pressure or badresha, which stage in the Bhagavatam, becomes almost completely destroyed to nil, and loving devotional service to Krishna becomes established as an irrevocable fact. So it's only a matter of time. And we're experiencing, practically we're experiencing the, no, it's not just dry theory, this process, it's actually helping us become ecstatic and purified and attached to Krishna. Just like the example of Tushti Pushti Shuddhabayo Nagasham in the 11th canto. When you eat prasadam, you feel pleasure automatically, freedom from hunger. Pleasure, nourishment, and freedom from hunger. So practically we experience devotion, attachment to the Lord, and direct transcendental knowledge of the Lord through this process of devotional service. Okay. Did you want to say something else?
No, we're done. Now also Krishna can understand all languages,
Yeah.
so he can translate for us.
Translation of the birds even, Srila Prabhupada says. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Sri Caitanya Caritamrita ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan in the Gold Coast today ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution Marathon ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi.